Good morning, St. Louis, and welcome into Card Central 365, powered by Gray Bar and brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours. There's supposed to be a rubber match in Tampa Bay, but it looks more like it's going to be a rain day in the southern part of baseball today, as Jimmy the Cat Hayes, our friend over from KLIS, and of course the Cardinals broadcast, put out this picture about 36 minutes ago, live from Tampa Bay. So I don't know if we're going to be playing this one, Ethan. They're supposed to in just under an hour. But if they do, we'll get you prepared for it right here on Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central. I'm Matthew Rocchio. That's Ethan Hannaford. And we're supposed to have a baseball game in about an hour, Ethan, but I don't know how that's looking right now.
You know, it's been a typical Sunshine State weekend down there. They play two weird freaking baseball games on Thursday and Friday thanks to Florida humidity. They don't play on Saturday due to a football game. And then we have an absolute monsoon on Sunday. And for all we know, knowing Florida weather, it's going to be clear blue skies in 30 minutes, and you will have never known that it rained. But yes, a weird weekend of baseball in Tampa Bay. And I'll just say this: I'm glad that I am a Cardinals fan, because you think that Cards fans have had it rough here this year. Why don't you just look at the Tampa Bay Rays fans, all 65 of them, and you'll see what it really means for it to have it rough, because it has been a brutal season for those fans.
Yes, it absolutely has. It's not getting any easier down there playing in a minor league ballpark. Also doesn't make things easy for them. But they did get a win on Friday against the Cardinals. Last time we saw the Redbirds in action, it did not go well against them. That was a 10-6 loss. On Friday, obviously, Miles Michaelis got absolutely hammered. He got kicked out of that game pretty early. That was a rough one that we don't want to talk about. Let's turn the page and look forward to potentially what might happen today. As Samuel Howe says, Sunday Night Baseball again. Yeah, because there's a good chance they will try to get this game in one way or another. And by your point, Ethan, it might be in a couple 45-minute runs once the sun actually comes out and plays today for the Cardinals and the Rays. If they do get the game in, it'll be the lefty Matthew Liberatore facing off against the righty for the Tampa Bay Rays. And let's take a look at that Cardinals lineup. Leading off, playing center field, Lars Nootbaar in the 2 spot, as he has been for the last 7 or 8 games, maybe 9, 10 games straight. Ivan Herrera is DHing in that 2 spot. Alec Burleson batting third, playing left field. Wilson Contreras moves down from where he was on Friday into the cleanup spot, playing first base. Nolan Gorman batting 5th, playing 3rd. We love to see that. Mason Wynn at shortstop, batting 6th. Thomas Saggese still in the lineup, playing second base, batting 7th. Jordan Walker batting 8th in the right field spot, and then it's going to be Pedro Pajes catching Matthew Liberatore today for the Cardinals. Before we get into the Tampa Bay Rays lineup there, Ivan Herrera 2, Alec Burleson 3, Wilson Contreras 4, and then Nolan Gorman playing third 5. You also got Jordan Walker in the 8 spot. Your thoughts on the Cardinals lineup if they do get the game in today from George Steinbrenner Field?
Well, this is kind of interesting, because as John Denton 30 minutes ago just tweeted out and said that Mason Wynn is out of the lineup today due to knee pain, but we haven't gotten an updated lineup yet. So this is what you just read off is the most updated lineup, but apparently there should be some tweaks coming to it, because Mason Wynn, I guess, isn't playing. He's also mentioned that Wynn got an injection in the knee over the All-Star break and has been playing in pain for weeks. So not a good sign. Cards looking like they're going to be without their shortstop today. Their starting shortstop today. Will be interesting to see how they kind of tweak things based around that.
I don't know. It's probably going to be Fermin. Would you? I'd expect just pretty simple. Just Saggese and Walker. Can you move them up in the lineup after you
probably
move those guys up in the lineup?
I would imagine Saggese moves to short and you move him into the 6th spot, and then Fermin ends up being either in the 7 or the 8 spot playing second base. Saggese has the better glove and the better arm than Fermin, so I'd prefer him at short. But yeah, I mean, he's a bottom of the lineup guy. Samuel asking if we can get JJ to Tampa. As much as I'd love that, I don't see it happening. But yeah, I imagine that we're going to get Fermin getting some opportunity today. And kudos to him and his limited ABs at the major league level. He's taken advantage of it this year, but just a very small sample size.
Cardinals did make some other moves earlier this morning. John King was reactivated, I should say, from the 15-day injured list. And the lefty, Anthony Veneziano, was optioned back down to Memphis. Bullpen has been one of the bright spots since the trading deadline. Just who's been most impressive for you? Has it been Swanson in those longer roles? Has it been Riley O'Brien kind of taking over as the dominant, last inning righty if JoJo's not in that spot? Who's been the bullpen arm that's impressed you the most since the trade deadline, Ethan?
Yeah, good question. I mean, there's several candidates for this role, right, of who you could throw in there. You could say Kyle Leahy. They've also stretched him out a little bit more. He's been sharp. Riley O'Brien, usually in 8th or 9th inning opportunities, has also been very good in large part. But I think that I would say Matt Swanson because out of all of those guys, I think we had seen Kyle Leahy do it for a good portion of the year, right? We knew the quality of stuff that Riley O'Brien had. It was just a matter, could he do it at the major league level? Could he stay healthy? Matt Swanson, I think he kind of crept under a lot of fans' radars. I don't know how many fans really expected him to be a guy that all of a sudden was going to be throwing his name into consideration as a potential closer for 2026, but has some great movement on his off-speed stuff, can climb up close to triple digits on his fastball, and he gets outs. He produces, and so I've really liked what I've seen from Matt Swanson. But it is a tough conversation, and that's a good challenging conversation to have, right? Because there have been multiple guys that have been competing for what you could argue is the most impressive piece post-trade deadline out of that Cardinal bullpen. I'm giving it to Matt Swanson, but it's close, and there's a couple of other guys in the mix. I didn't even mention JoJo Romero. I know he had a couple of blow-up opportunities there, save chances during the Yankee series, during the Rocky series. But overall, JoJo Romero, the product you've gotten from him all season long, has been extremely impressive. I know a lot of fans wanted him traded at the deadline because of that year of control and the volatility of the relief market. What could you have gotten for him? But it looks like he's going to be a guy that's going to continue to be impactful for this from this bullpen come 2026. And in a bullpen where there is not a lot of major league experience, I think it does pay to have a guy like that also that has been around at least for a couple of years, can share a little bit of wisdom with these guys. JoJo Romero is the only Cardinal relief pitcher that has more than a year of service time. How crazy of a number is that, Rocchio? It makes you wonder what the makeup of the bullpen will be like next year. Do we see them go back to the market like they did for a Phil Maton or a couple of those style of guys come 2026? It'll be interesting to see what they do with that, but how fresh and green so many of these young guys are, it makes it definitely an interesting conversation for 2026.
Big hitter for the Tampa Bay Rays, the rookie Jake Mangum, not in the lineup after having a couple big hits for them on Friday's game. Also had a nice pinch hit for them on Thursday's game as well. Let's get to that full lineup for the Tampa Bay Rays. They're sending Ryan Pepio to the bump, the right-handed pitcher, 8-10 on the season with a 3.95 ERA for the Rays. He's going up against how many lefties for the Cardinals? 1, 2, 3, just 3 lefties for the Cardinals today going up against the righty. It seems like that's part of the lineup that's changed a little bit with these injuries, which is unfortunate because this is the one time where you could use having 5 lefties and you only have 3 of them going up against Pepio. Here's the lineup for the Rays as they face off against a lefty of their own. So they go righty heavy after a couple lefty heavy lineup, especially on Friday against Michaelis. Chandler Simpson leading off and playing left field. There is one of the lefties, but then you got 2 righties back to back, and Junior Caminero playing third base. Batting second, Yandy Diaz at first base, batting third. Hitting cleanup, it is Brandon Lowe, the lefty, playing second base. Christopher Morel at DH, batting fifth. Everson Pereira at center field, batting sixth. Josh Lowe also had a couple big hits throughout this series. The lefty, though, he is now down to batting seventh, playing right field. Carson Williams, the big call-up rookie, is at the shortstop, batting eighth. And then Nick Fortes is the catcher he is batting ninth. So you see it there. A lefty, then two righties, a lefty, then two righties, and then a lefty, then two righties going up against Matthew Liberatore for the Tampa Bay Rays today.
Yeah, this is a lineup that offensively has been relatively quiet this year, but they do have some pieces there. We know Yandy Diaz has been a guy for them all season long. Junior Caminero has also been very solid for them. 36 home runs on the year, 87 RBIs, near the top of the league in both of those categories. I like Chandler Simpson near the top of the league in stolen bases with 37. A guy that, has a solid on base percentage. You look at Chandler Simpson, and he really is what, to a certain, in my opinion, you look at him and you say, that's what I want Victor Scott to be. Now, maybe that's a little bit of high expectation for Victor Scott. I don't expect Victor Scott to be a consistent 300 hitter, but to have a 350, 360 on base percentage, I think that's a semi-realistic thing to hope and expect for out of Victor. If you can get him to batting 240, 250, I don't know. Maybe maybe the approach is able to continue to improving to where all of a sudden you have him on base that amount. I mean, you look at how low Victor Scott's on base numbers are this year, and the fact that he's already over 30 stolen bases really tells you about his speed and how dynamic he is when he is on the base paths. So I think that Victor Scott, maybe in a little bit of a different way, has the opportunity to be just as dynamic as Chandler Simpson has been to this Rays lineup. So I like the top of the lineup. Similar to the Cardinals, not enough star power, except you could argue they have even more because they do have more firepower. It quiets down once you get later into the lineup. But Carson Williams, we know he had a loud major league debut on Friday against the Cardinals with his first career major league home run. Was cool to see. But yeah, I mean, it's been a down year for the Rays, but there is some potential in the starting lineup and some things definitely to build off of.
Definitely there. And talking about what you can build off, you can build off just 2 picks and keep on going with our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook and their new game available right now in Missouri. That is Pick 6. And don't worry, keep your ears open. More will be coming with DraftKings here in Missouri. Don't wait there. Just get with the Pick 6 app right now. Nothing beats relaxing on a hot summer day or a nice relaxing summer day like it will be today in St. Louis and watching some Cardinals baseball. The simplest way to get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and then boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Like we said, Pick 6 is available right now in Missouri. Do not miss out on all the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. All you need to do is download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports right there on your screen, STL Sports. For new customers, you get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Again, that promo code STL Sports with the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, where the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Going back to the Cardinals lineup here, Ethan, just a couple final points here. We'll close things out. This does have an air of something we could see a lot next year because you bring up Victor Scott and his struggles, and that's kind of one piece of lineup flexibility where if they can play a Lars Nootbaar in center field, it allows them to play both Walker and a Burleson. It keeps the DH spot open. In this case, for Herrera, obviously you could play Herrera and Walker in the outfield and the DH, the third guy, and then obviously Nolan Gorman at third base. There's a lot of aspects of the lineup today that, if they play out into 2026, will be good for the Cardinals long term. One aspect of that today that might be a red flag for the Cardinals is, of course, Mason Wynn missing the game with a knee injury.
Yeah, if you look at this for 2025 specifically, obviously you hate to see Victor Scott, be on the injured list, missing time and opportunity for him to continue working on his craft and his approach. But it does allow for, like you said, Alec Burleson and Jordan Walker to both play while Lars Nootbaar is getting some opportunity. The odds are, though, if it was up to me, I'd be surprised if those three guys are still on your roster in 2026. It would be if all three of those are.
Run that back again.
Say it again.
Run those names back again really quick.
Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Walker, and Alec Burleson. It would surprise me if all three of them are. If the plan is down the road to get Ivan Herrera more time working in left field, then there's not enough room, especially if Victor Scott is considered to be a part of the plan, and I believe that he is. Now, if you're talking about 2026, that's a whole different conversation, right? Because I think that the expectation and the belief has been that Victor Scott is going to be your guy in center field, even though the bat has been underperforming, has been quiet this year. We know that Ollie Marmol does not like consistently playing Lars Nootbaar in center field because he views him as a downgrade defensively compared to Scott, or even last year compared to Michael Ciani. I mean, we rarely saw Lars Nootbaar playing in center field. You could also argue that he's a little more injured prone, and maybe that's a reason. There's tends to be a little bit more aggressive play coming from center field than you do from your corner outfield positions. So I would be surprised if Lars Nootbaar is to remain a Cardinal in 2026. I would be surprised if we see Lars Nootbaar playing that much center field. It feels like to me this I don't want to say it's already decided, but I feel like Victor Scott would have to do a lot to really lose out on this battle based off of how the organization has used him up to this point, how they have prepped him to be that guy for the future. I personally think you'd be doing a disservice if you didn't continue to roll with him, give him those opportunities when healthy. Like I said, if spring training is an absolute disaster class and a mess next year, maybe you have a little more of a conversation. But right now, I think you've kind of made your decision on who your center fielder of the future is in Victor Scott.
I think you're right about that, but if next year, I mean, if Lars Nootbaar can hit like this, if he can get on base like he did at the beginning of the season from the leadoff spot especially, and if you don't need to lean on great defense for your pitching to survive with as many guys next year, you're still going to have to, because Andre Palante is still going to be
right.
in rotation. So there's still going to be a lot of matchups where Victor Scott, the second, in prioritizing that defense up the middle is going to be a huge factor for the St. Louis Cardinals. But having the ability to, if Lars Nootbaar is on the roster next year, to say we can go with a more offensive bent to make sure we have 4 or 5 hitters on the field at once, or 4 or 5 plus hitters in our lineup at once, because Matthew Liberatore's on the bump, or Sonny Gray's on the bump, or let's say it's August and you have a Quinn Matthews or a Liam Doyle who you don't need to focus on the soft contact as much. I like having the flexibility and then being able to use the flexibility. The point is that a month ago they weren't using the potential flexibility of Lars Nootbaar, whether he wasn't healthy, so he couldn't play defensively at center field, he wasn't getting the hit, so the risk reward proposition wasn't enough in the reward factor, so you weren't pulling the trigger. The bottom line is, even though part of the equation is that Victor Scott is struggling, Lars Nootbaar playing well enough that you have the option to put him at center field and therefore open up the rotation. That's a good thing going forward if he is on your roster in 2026. You're right. Victor Scott II has to be the future of this team, but having flexibility for this roster would be a nice thing going forward.
I do agree with that, but there's a reason that we haven't seen Lars Nootbaar play center field long term. Does he have the flexibility to be able to do so? Yes, but if the Cardinals weren't trying to find as much opportunity for these young guys and for that runway as they were, I don't think Lars Nootbaar would be playing as much center field as he has been, and he still hasn't been really playing that much center field. Listen, at some point, even as these guys continue to perform in a better direction, whether it be Lars Nootbaar, whether it be Nolan Gorman, Alec Burleson, Brendan Donovan, insert whoever you want, just because they're all performing better or because some of them are performing better doesn't mean you're going to get to keep them all. There's too much redundancy. There's too much logjam on this roster. And at some point, it has to be, yeah, these guys are playing better, but they're not playing better to be a part of your roster. They're playing better to maximize their value so you can get something better for them on the market. That's what the conversation has to be now. We don't know who those players are. We don't know which ones are going to be shopped, but it does feel kind of like Lars Nootbaar could be an odd man out. I know maybe it's not fair to have that use the Ivan Herrera conversation much anymore because we haven't seen him out in left field. It's only been a couple of times, but at least gives you an idea that it's in the back of their mind. But you'd think also maybe that if they were a little more on board with that, they would be trying it out a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe they're saving it for the offseason for him to get more reps and for spring training, perhaps. But all I know is that at some point, as these guys continue to perform, it's not going to be so they can perform for us. It's going to be so they can maximize their value, can get some better return for them. Nolan Gorman's a great example. You talk about adding another hitter to the lineup. I think Nolan Gorman is a piece that you look at a few months ago and you're saying, he just cannot figure it out at the plate. It feels like there's just no spot for him with JJ Weatherholt coming up at some point. Brendan Donovan feels like he's been cemented into this lineup as the heart of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball right now. Well, Nolan Gorman has had a pretty dang good last 3 months. So all of a sudden, you talk about adding a hitter to the lineup. That's another guy that you could have this same exact conversation about, except he's done it longer than Lars Nootbaar. So there's multiple people in this lineup on this roster, Rocchio, that you could have that conversation for. The reality is you're not going to be able to keep them all.
Yeah, they're going to have to finally make some decisions, and that was one of the issue with a lot of people this past deadline is that they didn't make the decision. They didn't pull the trigger on a lot of people. And I think to your point, and why a lot of people were miffed by the deadline is that most likely because people that are in baseball are smarter than us and are going to have this conversation, they know the Cardinals need to get rid of these players. So I know the Cardinals didn't get the offers they wanted in July. I don't know why they're going to get those offers in December either. Because some of these players have increased their value a little bit, but therefore the Cardinals are probably going to say, well, then we should probably get a little bit more than we were thinking in July because all these players have increased their value. But again, everybody in baseball knows you have a logjam. You're trading from a position of depth, and everyone else in baseball knows that. So why would they act like that they're trying to pry this player away? They know they're not trying to pry Lars Nootbaar away from the Cardinals, no matter how much the Cardinals want to make it seem like they are. They know the Cardinals have too many left fielders or too many outfielders and too many left-handed bats. So I think no matter what happens, it might be better than it was in July. The Cardinals are going to have to bite the bullet and take less in value than they would expect for a player because everybody in baseball knows they have to do it.
If there was to be a conversation, it'd be recency bias, for a guy like Lars Nootbaar, who had been banged up, had played his worst 2 months in his career of professional baseball, looking better now. So that's one of the arguments. Another one is different leadership. So maybe the ask is a little bit different. Maybe it's a little bit more realistic, and maybe partially because of different leadership, partially because of where they were in the season. The ask was higher because, if you were going to convince me to give you Lars Nootbaar or Alec Burleson or Brendan Donovan or insert whichever left-handed bat, there's about 30 options on this 26-man roster. Insert whichever one you want. Maybe John Mozeliak saying, okay, ideally I'm able to give Chaim Bloom the steering wheel in a couple of months, and he has all these guys. He can do with them what he wants. Perhaps the asking price was higher because he's saying, okay, if you give me a good enough offer for me to where I am now making this decision rather than letting Chaim have the decision in a couple of months with all of these guys, the offer's got to be pretty good in order for me to be able to make that decision. Maybe that's more so what it was. That Mozeliak was so set on, I have to handle it this way. Chaim has to have the choice of what to do with all of these guys, that the asking price was high because of that. Maybe that's what it was. We know that John Mozeliak has a tendency to overvalue his prospects, and we've seen the bad timing of some of these young guys. They've had the chance to trade off for higher value in the past. They haven't been able to do that very well. Mason Windu commenting here saying they could package one of the minor league catchers with someone like a Newt or a Donovan to get some value in a trade. I completely agree. And in fact, it would not surprise me at all if that were to happen. You do some simple math and you realize very quickly that the Cardinals have two very highly ranked top 100 prospects that are both catchers and are top 5 prospects in your organization. They're not going to both be able to catch for you. You actually have 3 in your top 8. Actually, it might be in your top 6 in your system right now.
And two of them are in that magical protection year that apparently is now so important.
Yeah, so there's definitely some questions as to how the Cardinals will handle this offseason, but it would not surprise me to see at least one of those catching prospects go, to see if you can maybe sweeten a deal and get someone that is a little bit more ready for the major league level. Because I can tell you this right now, I've said it multiple times, and fans, maybe you're getting tired of it at this point. I'm going to keep saying it. Lars Nootbaar alone, some of these guys alone, I say him. That's not fair just to only say his name. There's multiple. In fact, I would say probably everyone.
You and Joe Roderick just need to get a little Lars Nootbaar hatred club going together. My gosh.
How about this? I'll say this instead. Everyone but Brendan Donovan probably at this point of the lefties is not going to be a good enough value piece to get you back that, that's a good starting. That's a 2, that's a 3 that we feel like we can plug in right now and be an impact piece of our rotation. Brendan Donovan's probably the only one I feel like as of now. Maybe Nolan Gorman goes on an absolute tear, but even with his numbers the past 3 months, will you take an 825, 850 OPS over the last 3 months? Yeah, but people are also looking at the prior 2 years before that and saying, but he also is coming off of this. And he doesn't play good defense at third base. He can hold his own at second. So, I mean, what's the value on Nolan Gorman league-wide right now? Maybe it is higher because, you don't have a lot of power pieces at second base. You don't. But right now, the only one that I'd be willing to put my own money on that the Cardinals would be able to get a heart of the rotation piece that you feel like can contribute both now and for the future is Brendan Donovan alone. That's the only one, which makes you think that it's going to take more than just one piece alone to bring in those impact pitching pieces.
Honestly, I don't think a team gives you a heart of the order for Brendan Donovan alone.
How telling is that of how overvalued these pieces are?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. That to your point, and I know, Mason Window's like put together a package. You're going to have to put together 3 juicy prospects that most St. Louis fans are not going to be willing to give up altogether. Like, it's not just going to be, Nolan Gorman and Lars Nootbaar. That's not gonna get the phone call. That's not gonna get the phone picked up by a lot of these teams. You're gonna have to entice them. They're not here to pick up your scraps. There are plenty of guys in everyone else's organization that, while they might not be able to do it, they can project to say we can pay him $1 million and he can give us 109 OPS. You gotta entice these guys.
What if we throw in? I'll give him Mason Molina. Come on, he's last name Molina. Come on, that's got to stand for something, right? Come on, right?
Yeah,
Mason Molina. Will that get the job done? We'll get the deal done.
You know what we should start doing is do this a little bit like instead of the I am 12 thing, we just start having players say I am another Holiday son, and just start like saying no this prospect, his name's Ronnie L. Holiday. He's another Holiday kid just out of nowhere. He plays catcher, but another Holiday kid. That pedigree, baby.
That's first round material.
That's how you boost. That's how you boost the value right there. That's how you do it.
Exactly.
Well, we'll see if the Cardinals are able to get a game in. They got about 35 minutes until the projected starting pitching time. I haven't seen any updates of the weather in Tampa Bay, but like Ethan said, it can change on an absolute dime. So we'll see if the Cardinals play. If they do, we will be right here on STL Sports Central with a Cards Central postgame coming to you this afternoon, this evening, technically Monday morning for all we know. Either way, if they play baseball today, you're coming back here on STL Sports Central to watch that post game. And the easiest way to do that is right below me right now. Hit the bell button, like, share, and subscribe. That way you always know when we're coming here. If you like what we're doing here, hitting the subscribe and everything helps us do what we're able to do. Make sure you support our sponsors. Gray Bar, they power us. DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours. They make everything happen here around STL Sports Central. So scroll down a little bit, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so you know that you're coming back here for the post game tonight. Cardinals and Rays potentially trying to close out the series from George Steinbrenner Field. That's Ethan Hannaford. I'm Matthew Rocchio, and this has been Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central. Have a great Sunday, St. Louis. I know the show is technically over, but I literally just got the ESPN alert on my phone. The game has officially been delayed to start this game. So the Cardinals and Rays, as I'm trying to wrap up the show, has been delayed. So a little bit later than usual. Card Central post game on STL Sports Central. That's it. That's the show. Have a great day, everybody.